Rome once again. Round 4 of the ABB FIA Formula E World Championship is once again on the streets of the Eternal City. There you can see the Marconi obelisk down in the heart of the centre of Rome and the EUR district that plays host to the Rome E-Prix. Fascinating race yesterday. It finished behind the safety car. Jean-Eric Vergne took the win. What is going to be the outcome today? Can Vergne wrap up another victory? But he's going to be going out in the first group of qualifying. Mitch Evans and his teammate Sam Bird secured a very, very impressive result for the Jaguar team. Second and third for the two of them. It was a difficult day for the Dragon Penske Autosport squad and Sergio Sette Camara as he was getting ready to get in the car and head out onto the track. Also a difficult day for Eduardo Mortara because he couldn't even go out for qualifying and had to start at the back of the field. Sebastian Buemi was fairly satisfied with his drive through the field. There is the Colosseo Quadrato at the centre of this circuit, and these are the championship points after round 3. Sam Bird leads the way, 9 points clear of the Envision Virgin racing car of Robin Freitz, who's 2 points clear of Nick de Vries. Mitch Evans is up in the mix now as well, just 12 points behind his Jaguar racing teammate, and Jean-Eric Vergne's win jumped him from nowhere up to 5th in the championship standings. Nato, Lotterer, Dennis and Cassidy, so interestingly the 3 rookies plus Lotterer are the droney drivers that are yet to get off the mark so far this season. And obviously that double podium result finish for Jaguar yesterday did wonders for them in the championship. 74 points now at the top, 34 clear of DS Techeetah. Okay, it's very, very early stages, but that's a healthy margin for Jaguar at this point. Mercedes EQ, third in the standings ahead of Envision Virgin and Audi Sport. BMW grabbed 2 points yesterday with Max Gunther, so they are off the mark. Dario Franchitti is alongside me, Jack Nicholls, and we saw a great race yesterday on this circuit, Dario.
Yeah, we absolutely did. In changeable conditions yesterday, steeply downhill, turns 1 and 2, heavy braking 3. Got to get off a turn 4 well because it is steeply uphill. We saw so much action through the left-hander in turn 6 as he crossed the start line. Another big bump as the braking zone for turn 7. Right, 8, 9, 10. New asphalt there, very slippery in the wet. Chicane 12, 13. Round obelisk, this part is, yeah, all kinds of different lines of attack mode on the outside. Another rhythm section to end the lap. But yeah, changeable conditions, lots of surface changes, painted lines. It's a fantastic track.
Very much looking forward to seeing how the drivers take to it today. You can see all the skid marks actually, can't you, all across the circuit from the major incident that ended the race yesterday. But conditions are interesting today because we're hearing rain on the commentary box roof. It was a bit drizzly when I went out there just now, but some parts of the track then just look quite dry.
Yeah, absolutely, and that was what the drivers were faced with yesterday. Absolutely changeable conditions. We had a safety car start, which I think was ultimately a good idea. Looks like it's probably going to be dry for the race at the moment, but the forecast is so changeable. But every team in the pit lane's thinking, oh, we can do this better, we can do this better, but they haven't got consistent conditions with which to try that. So there's a certain amount of guesswork is the wrong thing, but you've got to extrapolate some of that information, I think, as you go along.
Sam Bird then finished in second place yesterday after climbing up through the field. He was naturally really happy with his progress, wasn't he? Both the Jaguar cars, Bird and Evans, started 10th and 12th respectively, finished in second and third, and that's exactly what they wanted, needed. And I always feel in Formula E it's about minimizing the days when you're in Group 1, and that's what Jean-Eric Vergne has to do today.
Yeah, absolutely different situation for Jean-Eric today. But yesterday he had a pretty busy day because in free practice 1 he was sitting at turn 6 ready to practice his start at the end of the session and got hit, and the car was very badly damaged. So big recovery from him and the DS Techeetah team.
Green flag. Everybody pulling out onto the circuit. The two DS Techeetahs heading straight out there. Now, what happens today when we didn't have, and there's Oliver Turvey, great to see him about to head out onto the track. They managed to repair the car mostly yesterday, and now he's getting in, not fully ready to go by the looks of things, as the sort of
heads around,
thank you. Gets
it's early.
These double headers, man. It's 7 o'clock in the morning and I'm meant to remember what a head surround is called. But yeah, so not absolutely fully ready to go out, but Turvey will be at a bit of a disadvantage for the track.
And this is a brand new car.
Really?
Completely new type. The car was destroyed yesterday in that same incident with Jean-Eric Vergne. So the Neo guys built the car. Actually, it was ready for the race, but he wasn't allowed to start. So I think today he's starting from the pit lane as well, was the information that I got. So tough, very tough weekend for Oliver Turvey, especially after such a good result in the second race in Diriyah.
So one of the drivers I was speaking to yesterday, I think I can say it was Da Costa, but so I am now. You know his Vergne's radio.
Mode activation this lap.
Okay, so he'll do attack mode straight away, Jean-Eric Vergne. But yeah, I'm never quite sure. It's always when you have a chat with drivers, there's always then that, oh, should I say this on the but the Da Costa one, he said it was just the guy. He said the guy who has made the least mistakes probably ever in Formula E made, you know, one of the biggest yesterday in free practice. He said he's now made up for those last 4 years, and he's the same as the rest of us idiots, is what Da Costa said. So obviously he's saying that very tongue-in-cheek, but that was the surprising thing about it. Yes, Turvey is such a dependable, smart, doesn't make mistakes kind of guy.
Safe pair of hands. I saw him last night, and he said, "I've got 6 points on my licence. I've never had points on my licence." I made some joke about his speed awareness course. But yeah, it was a big shot. And he seemed unfazed.
Yeah.
I think he's ready to get back to work, but as I say, up against it today.
So here, over the line, comes Antonio Felix Da Costa, who ended up getting a puncture yesterday after a bit of contact with René Rast. The two seemed to, Da Costa said, too Rast. You know, I've had contact like that 10 times during the race, but that one unfortunately gave me a puncture, so a bit unlucky for Da Costa.
Sims was a similar situation. Alexander Sims, he had some contact, I think, with Sergio Setti Camera, and that was a puncture, and that ended his day. He could have probably driven it back to the pits, but who knows what damage would have been caused by that.
Oh, and I got to the bottom of the... do you remember yesterday in qualifying, Roland came across the line and hit the wall?
Yes.
And then was just like flat out down the hill, and we had to go, whoa. He came across the line, and his engineer said 120% in-lap, because you still have to do the in-lap at that certain speed, don't you? So he was like, okay, better had to. And he's coming down the hill like this, and then obviously they realised the car's broken.
Completely knackered.
Yeah, exactly. But that's why he was going so fast after hitting the wall, because he wanted to get back to the pits within the 120%.
And I put it down to red mist. Oliver Roland, I'm sorry. Yeah.
Hashtag Rome E-Prix if you want to get in touch this morning. And if you're... L4 New says, Jack Nicholls sounds like he woke up 10 minutes ago. Brutal.
That's hard. I walked in here an hour ago and Jack was sitting making his notes.
Oh, thank you for saying that.
No worries.
I actually woke up 2 hours ago.
Crikey.
So, yeah.
Anyway, here's Antonio Felix Da Costa coming through turn 16. And this is a real rhythm section of the track. You've absolutely got to nail this. This is a kind of a uniform section of tarmac. We saw some action pretty much everywhere yesterday out of turn 19 now as he sprints to the line, and that is we saw some very varied lines, shall we say, that yesterday, including the Oliver Roland slightly aggressive line, shall we say. And it was unfortunate because he hit one part of the wall which turned the car sort of 30 degrees to the right, put him into the second part of the wall even harder.
He said that when he hit the wall at turn 12 at the chicane, that had bent his steering. So he had bent steering for the rest of the lap, and so took the opinion to just absolutely go for it at the final corner. And he was saying, I probably should have just settled for second at that point, but I just thought, nah, let's go for it, go for pole.
Just not in his makeup, is it? I love it.
Sebastian Buemi then, he was frustrated with his qualifying because he felt that the rain had come down a bit more in Group 4 compared to some of the other groups, but he had a reasonable climb through the field, did Buemi, to finish in 5th place, his first points of the season. But we'll see what he can do today, because he's out in the same qualifying group as his teammate Oliver Roland in Group 2, so we'll get a sort of direct comparison between the pair of them, because Roland has had the pace advantage really over the course of the season so far. Only three races in, of course.
And the race yesterday was interesting because the leader, in a normal situation, would want to get away and sprint off, but because it was borderline, because it's a timed race, it was borderline. If they went too quickly, it was going to be an extra lap and put them and the rest of the field in an energy hole. So the leader was actually backing up into the field. Every time somebody would take the lead, they would almost slow down and try and make sure the race was, say, 28 laps instead of 29 laps. So that was creating this almost this long line of cars from first to sort of 15th, and people were being more and more aggressive to get to the front. Wow, speaking of aggressive.
Big double lockup down at turn 4 for Stoffel Van Dorn at Nymphaeo Park.
And this it almost looks like the mechanical braking on the front of the car is not interacting well with the regenerative braking on the rear of the car at that point. So there'll be some changes from the engineers, maybe some changes in the car that Stoffel can make.
Absolute disaster yesterday for Mercedes EQ. Nothing of their own doing, really. Up here you can see all the skid marks as Van Dorn ended up down in the bottom right of shot there.
Yeah, right where that orange mark is. Nothing he did wrong. Lucas de Grassi had a drive shaft failure just where those cars are coming through. Stoffel Van Dorn pulled over to the right to avoid it, hit a raised manhole cover. The wheels came off the ground and he took himself out of the race, and his teammate Nick de Vries was caught up in it too. So yeah, very tough for the Mercedes EQ guys.
And they were going on to score some really strong points, which was the big shame. And Van Dorn had taken pole position, and he'd done such a great job after having that collision with Andre Lotterer at the start. He dropped to 14th or something, and then was suddenly back up in the hunt for the top 6. It was a really, really strong drive from Van Dorn until then.
Yeah, they definitely displayed big pace yesterday, the Mercedes EQ guys. It was quite impressive how he came back, and Lotterer spent a bunch of the race missing the front bodywork and the front wing and everything. But he had that action-packed race, had a penalty as well. Mortara, he just wants, I think, needs a race today with no action. Didn't get to do the second race in Saudi Arabia because of a practice crash, and yesterday's day really was over, I think, before it started. So the pace again, Mercedes powertrain in the Rocket Venturi car. So it'll be nice to see Edo have a good day.
Be selfish, find that gap.
Oh. Albert Lau saying to Nick de Vries, be selfish, find that lap. Mercedes said their first practice yesterday was really messy. They couldn't find the gap they wanted. They couldn't get in the order that they wanted. So they lost. They had an issue in the pit lane before they even went out. So they had a really kind of messy lap first practice yesterday, as we see Susie Wolf on the left-hand side. John-Eric Verns in the runoff at turn 3, apologies. Rejoins.
Was that turn 4 on the old track? Because I keep calling it turn 4.
Was it turn 4 on the... Oh, it was.
Yeah, it must have been, because you did the same thing as I do.
I think it was, because the start line was 1 quarter. Maybe it was turn 5. Anyway, here's Nick de Vries. He's in attack mode. Yep, he's in attack mode. Poles... Oh!
You see, this is a new tarmac, new asphalt. This was incredibly slippery in the wet yesterday. The guys were saying they were from turn 8 through to turn 11, they were just absolutely tiptoeing and trying not to throw the car into the wall because it was so slippery at that point. And if it's that, oh, Nick de Vries goes straight on, wow, through the shortcut of the chicane. That was quick thinking from de Vries. He didn't commit, because once you've committed to that chicane, if you're offline, you're going to hit something solid. But yeah, if it's a wet start today, most of the grid is on that new tarmac, apart from the pole sitter who's got the old tarmac, so he would have definitely much better traction. I think de Vries having a properly exciting lap, most unlike him, that he's sliding it around, he's missing parts. Look at the front brakes glowing as he brakes. But yes, most un-de Vries-like.
Through Piazza JFK, out to the final corner at turn 19 and across the line, and obviously he went through that chicane, so even though it puts him 5th place, it doesn't really sort of count for much. Cassidy and Freitz, the 2 Envision cars, the only 2 in the pits at the moment. Everybody else out on circuit. Ian James, team principal of Mercedes EQ. Roland quickest for what it's worth at the moment, but he's just in 200 kilowatts of power. This was the chicane.
Just as he crested the rise, the front's locked. Quick thinking from Nick de Vries. I hate that feeling. I've referenced it before, but when you've committed to a corner and your mind and your inner ear and all your balance is set for going through the corner and you have to go straight at the last moment, it really messes up your equilibrium.
34.5 minutes to go. Here's Lucas di Grassi, who was very unfortunate yesterday. Felt like he had the race under control, really, in that Audi once he'd got the lead back away from Jean-Eric Vergne with a great move at turn 4, and then it all went wrong.
Massively, you know, typical Lucas race, very aggressive, but I thought he was in control as well, Jack. His qualifying, that's been maybe a weak point, he was right up there. He was looking good, and drive shaft failure. And that was it. So he's going to be feeling confident today, though.
Yep, well, he'll be going out in one of the later qualifying groups, Lucas di Grassi again. Group 3 he'll be in. So he's got a real shot at another sort of top 10 position. And you can gain so with one, still the field is so tight that one good point score, one big point score, and you can jump up the order. Jean-Eric Vergne had no points yesterday morning. Now he's 5th in the championship and 18 points off the lead.
Yeah, winning does fix everything. Yeah. It's amazing when they get the points the way, you know, especially having a 7-point split between even first and second.
To get a little bit wet again.
Mitch Evans saying it's starting to get a little bit wet again. Saw Robin Freitz in the garage. He was frustrated yesterday. Max Günther's a quarter of a second up here. He's in attack mode, so this will probably be the quickest lap that we've seen so far, as he gets a little leery through the chicane.
Yeah, he just overdid it through the first apex, tried to carry a bit too much speed, and you saw the back of the car penduluming around. That ultimately will cost him speed on the way out, because he won't be able to commit to the throttle, because he's trying to sort out the keep the car out of the wall and recover from his exuberance on the entry.
Was pretty happy with his result yesterday. 9th place finish after having a 360 down the start straight, the same place that Van Dorn had his spin. Günther had the same, but managed to keep going and still came across the line in 9th position. So, and thought he got the pretty much maximum out of qualifying as well to get into Superpole. So he was not dissatisfied, but I don't think that the pace is really there in the BMW. It's just kind of the feeling I get. I don't think it's a front-running car at the moment.
Yeah, I don't think you're wrong, and they need one right now because they're at the bottom of the team's championship. Which maybe is not indicative of their actual pace, but they need to start scoring some big points to start moving up.
Well, Jake Dennis in the other BMW is still yet to get off the mark. Retired again yesterday after contact, and he's just desperate for a clean event, a clean race, and he was one of the drivers that got wiped out in that Turvey Vergne incident at the end of free practice. Then suddenly he's going into qualifying, still not used to it all, and we're on board with Nato here as he bumps over the bumps, and he's still just getting Dennis back into the kind of single-seater swing of things, and the not having ABS swing of things as well, having come over from GT3 cars, and that sort of, he was saying, you know, I'm still, you know, my natural mindset after the last few years is to just smash the brake pedal and it'll be fine. But you got to do that differently. So that whole readjustment, and then take out all of your free practice time as well, and it's not good, and it's a tough one.
Yeah, it's a big ask. I mean, to lose practice time if you're a Lucas di Grassi saying you've got 7 years of experience, okay, yeah, that's difficult enough. But yeah, as you say, Jack, when it's your first season, it is so difficult. And we've got a yellow flag at turn 12. That's the chicane. No, track clear, that's good. Something we went down that escape road that we saw Nick de Vries use earlier. We saw this view as the car went over the bump going into turn 7. The teams are trying to stop the car hammering the ground quite so hard there and popping up, and they're trying to keep the tyres in contact with the tarmac there as long as possible, because it's allowing them to brake harder and later into turn 7. And that was some of the teams were saying yesterday, that's what they felt the ones who'd really figured it out had a time advantage was in that braking zone, because they managed to control the movement of the car.
Tom Bromquist managed to sneak into the points yesterday after a couple of post-race penalties, picked up a point, his first point of the season after finishing 18th in the opening 2 races, again due to his own penalties, predominantly in race 2. So managed to get one on the board, did the British driver. And that was something at least for the Neo team from yesterday. Big lock-up on the left front, but got it in, no problem. He's on a 200 push lap at the moment. Max Günther did go to the top of the times, 500ths quicker than Stoffel van Doorn in second, and they are both 6/10 clear of Andre Lotterer at the moment as they come past the Colosseo Quadrato. See Sam Bird in there behind, just getting out of the way of Nato, and Bromquist coming through the chicane, bit of a slide on the exit.
Lotterer's got to be a good pick for pole today, hasn't he?
Yeah.
Just in Group 4, yeah, that's but also the back of the car was sliding around. Look, he was fighting with it. I think he had both ends of that car locked up, which is it takes some doing. Good rally heritage in his family.
Yeah.
His father, Stig Blomqvist.
Former World Rally champion.
Won at Goodwood this year, or last year, age 70. Certainly over 70.
Unbelievable that was.
We have a yellow flag, it turns at 3.2.
Okay, so that's presumably maybe someone in the runoff area at turn 4. Blomqvist is coming down to that area now as we look at Christian Silk, and there is Eduardo Mortara. He's got going again at turn 4 at Ninfeo Park, and he now climbs up the hill. Here's a look at Alex Lynn.
This is the chicane. He's visited the runoff at the chicane.
Oh! He's hit
the
barrier.
He's he lost the front. Yeah, he's pretty offline as he's gone in. It's almost like the car's hit the ground, and tyres come off the ground when that happens. Okay. Turns into a canoe. There's no grip.
He's back in the pits, so we'll see whether there's much damage to Lynn's car. Here is Robin Freitz, who was a bit frustrated with his race yesterday because he. Well, let's have a quick look at what happened to Mortara at turn 4. Locked up front left.
Yeah, he's trying to get it unlocked. It's trying to. The thing is, you want to release the brake pedal normally, but the systems in the car with the regenerative braking, a lot of time doesn't encourage you to do it. That's not what the car wants. If it was just a pure mechanical system, you'd sort of come off the brake a bit and stop it locking up. But it's yeah, sometimes the car, it's not exactly what it needs.
Robin Freitz was in the wrong setting for some of the race yesterday, so. Basically, because you remember he suddenly had 2% less energy than everybody else. Yeah. It was a sort of electronical issue that they then fixed, and then he was saving energy, but that's what kind of took him out of the running, because he was over-consuming without driving at the speed in which to over-consume. So that was a frustrating one for Freitz. Still came through to finish in 4th in the end.
Double yellow at turn 7.
That's at the top of the hill at Piazza Gandhi as Robin Freitz activates his attack mode. Now he went so late into that activation zone yesterday compared to some of the other drivers.
Yeah, I said to you, I think he's missed it.
Yeah.
You said, no, actually he's not. But yes, it was. He's obviously figured that out. And the later you can take the attack mode activation zone, there's 3 sensors in the ground. The later you can get to that first sensor, you cut the angle down, time loss, you minimize time loss. And as we saw yesterday, it's absolutely critical to minimize time loss over and when you took the attack mode, because the field knows to tell you you're losing 2, 3, sometimes 4 positions.
Lucas de Grassi in attack mode at the moment. 5th quickest, 1.1 seconds slower than Max Günther as it stands. Günther's lap in attack mode. As de Grassi is not pushing on this one. He might have just activated it though. No, he's coming to the pits. So that's the end of this little run for Lucas de Grassi. 25 minutes of the 45-minute session to go. So therefore, 20 minutes down, halfway through pretty much. There's the Venturi team waiting for their cars to come back into the pit lane. With 25 minutes to go, and here's Sergio Sette Camera making his way up the hill, and he certainly looks like he's in a bit of an attack mode push at the moment, and a bit of a twitch coming through the left-hander of 6, which apparently was treacherous yesterday. When it was getting really wet, it was very, very tricky.
Yeah, it looked it too, and Sergio Sette Camera's brakes are absolutely glowing. He's clearly, as you say, Jack, on a push lap. Jay Penske was saying this guy only has 1 speed, and that is absolutely flat out. The car sometimes comes back in kit form, but you always know he's giving 100%.
Half a second down on Günther after the first 2 sectors. Fairly decent lap that from Günther.
Yeah, not bad at all. So people are working on different things at this point. Some are working on sort of qualifying setup. Others are working on getting the absolute best balance in the car for energy saving and speed during the race, which is a much different balance because you're using the regeneration paddle so much to put energy back into the battery. You've got to regenerate about 30% of energy to make it to the end of the race.
Really?
Yeah, it's
a big, it's a tough one here.
It's a big number, and so it's a much different balance because when you're using the regeneration paddle, it's almost like you're pulling the handbrake on as you come through the corner. So you have to have a certain balance in the car to allow you to do that, and that's what a lot of these guys are working on.
And presumably that risk and reward qualifying versus Jay Penske like that.
Hey guys, as a reminder from race control, there is no crossing the pit lane during the session. I'm talking to you, Tichita.
That's
cool.
Great stuff. So Scott Elkins, obviously someone at Diaz Tichita has been spotted crossing the pit lane.
Somebody in the comms booth that's not Jack Nicholls might have got in trouble for that yesterday.
Did you get told off?
Yeah.
Oh dear, Darian.
And I wasn't actually going to cross it. I was just going to stand and say hello to someone.
Oh, that old excuse.
Yeah, exactly. Didn't buy it either.
6 points on your license for that.
Yep.
So Nick Cassidy is maybe going for a full power lap here, I think, because he's coming through the final sector. Oh, he's on his on his flying lap down towards turn 4 and 5. So Cassidy might be on a flyer. This is Alexander Sims in the Mahindra, as he had a sort of struggle yesterday.
Yeah, that flat tyre with the SETI camera contact.
Oh yeah, right at the start, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was over from there. Seen a lot of people lock up into turn 4, turn 8 today. That's where we've seen most of that shot, and even Alexander locking up into turn 14 as well. Yeah, tough day for him yesterday. Look at the turning point for 15 is getting later and later as the grip of the track comes up.
It's so interesting. Halfway through the session, Sims in the Mahindra, out-qualified by Alex Lynn in every session so far this season. 3-0 down in that direct battle. You can see Cassidy's running clock on the bottom right. He's going to be the first full power lap that we will get. Quickest time we saw yesterday was a 1 minute 38.7 in free practice. Here's a look at Sims locking up also into 7 at Piazza Gandhi. So lockups all around, really, for Simsy.
Yeah, and that's, again, something the team can help with the integration between mechanical and regenerative. Cassidy 140.1. Wonder who? There's Dilbag Gill, team principal of Mahindra. Yeah, I wonder if the track's still a bit wet, a bit damp.
Well, in places it certainly looks... Well, when we saw SETI camera going up the hill
Yes.
at 235 kilowatts of power, it looked a bit
twitchy,
loose,
yeah.
let's say. Let's see how Andre Lotterer gets on. 5-second time penalty yesterday for a robust overtake on Stoffel Van Dorn.
Don't start me on that one.
What?
Oh, we've seen other identical incidents. The penalties went other ways. This sort of...
Yeah, I watched it back a couple of times yesterday, and it's been on actually in the commentary box this morning while they've been playing it out, and it seems that it wasn't. I don't know.
Anyway.
I think if they'd have said racing incident with that one, I'd have said,
Okay,
yeah, fair enough.
Again, and I will say it again, because it's easy to criticise the stewards. There's no way I'm doing that job. Toughest job in the world, because whenever you get a decision, you're wrong to almost 50% of the people.
Yeah.
Anyway, Max Gunter's on a full power lap, 250 kilowatts.
Yeah, he's a couple of tenths down on Nick Cassidy after the first sector, as Lotterer comes through the right-hander at turn 14 now.
Lotterer was right in the mix yesterday. Up until that, he definitely looked very strong. Pascal Wehrlein did that thing again where he was good, and then he seemed to fade.
Yeah.
The same, we saw it in Diriyah when we thought, oh, crikey, he's going to really start putting pressure on the leaders, and then he faded. So I'm not quite sure what's going on there. With double yellow flag again at turn 7 at the other side of the track from Andre Lotterer right now, though.
But Wehrlein is the only driver to have scored points in every race.
Absolutely, yeah. And that to me, that shows up new maturity from Pascal Wehrlein.
And because there were, I think, 5 drivers scored double points in Diriyah, so actually it was quite impressive that only one of those then managed to make it 3 out of 3, and that was Pascal Wehrlein.
Particularly what was going on yesterday.
Yeah.
To get through that yesterday.
And we keep pushing sector 1 on 250. We need a better turn 3.
Max Günther being told he needs a better turn 3. He ended up just 500ths away.
That was a fabulous shot when he deaccelerated. Look at the water coming off the car. That's brilliant, using good polish on the DS Cheetah. I mean, not so good he missed the corner, but wow, what a great shot.
Yeah, Antonio Felix da Costa in the DS Cheetah. 19 minutes left on the clock. Yeah, Günther was only 500 slower than Cassidy, but he was 2 tenths down in sector 1, and his engineer there, Brice Gaillard, saying most of that was in turn 3, which is the left-hander at Trefontaine at the bottom of the hill. As we look at Nico Müller, who had a sort of tough race for the Dragon team. They struggled in qualifying, and then they were kind of at the back of the midfield, and that was it. It's so difficult to make any progress.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially, I think it was slightly frustrating for them after such a strong showing in race 2 in Diriyah in Saudi Arabia. They're still running the season 6 powertrain at the moment. They're hoping to get it into the car for the season 7 powertrain in the car for Valencia. So it'll be interesting to see their progress then. Da Costa again. But you see, he came off the brakes going into 4 once it locked up and managed to get it to the apex.
He's full power this time, Antonio Felix da Costa. So he's on a 250 kilowatt run. Oh no, he's just practicing his attack mode up the hill. There we go. Sorry, fan boost up the hill. As he goes to the right-hand side to go past the BMW.
Oof, that DS Cheetah looked really nice over those bumps. If you noticed, there was you didn't hear a huge noise as he hit, or the wheels coming off the ground, or big sparks. That was, that's very nice over there.
There was some suggestion that Mercedes are running pretty low ride heights, pretty low cars, and that wasn't to blame for Van Door's incident, but if some other car had gone over in that situation, it might have been a little better, because teams have noticed that Mercedes are going quite aggressive on that. And the driver I was speaking to saying we could go lower, but we don't. It's that kind of risk versus reward thing, and we don't think it'll make that much difference compared to the sort of, not quite comfort, but the feeling that you're getting if you have just a little bit more clearance.
Yeah, I've been asking the teams a question: how powerful is the underfloor of the car? Yeah. You see that huge diffuser on the back. How powerful is that actually? And because most normal cars, you get them really close to the ground, and the floor becomes even more powerful, creates more grip. Obviously, the centre of gravity lowers too. It's all positive. The lower you can get the car. But nobody will give me a straight answer on exactly how powerful the floor is. Or they'll say something like, yeah, quite powerful, or not really, no real details. I wouldn't either, to be honest.
Race winner from yesterday, Jean-Eric Verne, coming through the final corner at turn 19 and out across the line. And he remains, or goes up into 5th position on that lap. Andre Lotterer has the fastest final sector of anyone. Jake Dennis is on a full power lap. So Dennis and Cassidy, because Cassidy went earlier for the full power, you get the feeling of just trying to guarantee they get a full power run, get some kind of reference points, as Cassidy comes into the left-hander at Piazza Gandhi at the top of the hill.
Yeah, you got to say Jake Dennis looked good there, actually. Looked very good as he, there's a yellow flag though, turn 14. Oh, it was clear, so that's good. That won't affect his lap now. But yeah, it looks good so far. He just needs experience though. Oh, there we go. Just overdid it on the, you can see the rear, I guess rear brakes a little bit too much, and then slightly offline. Tires are dirty, and that's the lap.
Through the chicane. Still pushing on the rest of the lap to still try and get those reference points that he so dearly needs.
You've got to push every lap. There's no point sort of driving around at 90% because you're just going to be in the bag. But again, it's that risk reward as you get close to 100% with the walls right there. You see.
Well, and we're so close to qualifying.
Yeah. I mean, what is the time difference? Qualifying starts in
about 10 minutes or something.
Yeah, 1 hour 45 minutes after the end of practice. And then the race is the pit lane closes 2.5 hours after the end of qualifying. So yeah, that puts huge pressure on the drivers and the teams not to make mistakes.
So Dennis goes over to 6th place, despite this little moment here. That's quite a big moment actually. He had quite a lot of oppo on.
Yeah, but below opposite lock, he had the. Yeah, it's just again almost too much rear braking into it. but you want somebody to break it in because it helps to rotate the car. But clearly that was too much.
Here's Mitch Evans in attack mode. Good drive from him yesterday, 12th up to 3rd. Very nicely done from the Jaguar driver.
Yeah, absolutely. Right now he's P23. There's a yellow flag right where he is. There we go.
Sunday camera going straight on at Ninfeo Park. Evans climbing the hill, and this is just exactly what Jaguar have been looking for the last few years. And it's amazing how they've been on the podium in every race, Jaguar now. 3 races, Evans in race 1, Bird in race 2, Evans and Bird in race 3.
Yeah, from Group 1 and qualifying.
Yeah.
For Sam Bird, yeah.
So, whilst I think they're both very quick drivers, are they the quickest driver pairing on the grid? It's tough to say, but in terms of getting the job done and picking up results, it's really, really impressive.
It's always a team effort, isn't it? The car's clearly good, they're getting the right information, but yeah. I mean, yesterday, the type of race it was yesterday, yes, you've got to be fast, and clearly they were, but some of the racecraft displayed was, I think, the difference.
Yeah.
These guys, oh, nice slide, Mitch Evans. But yeah, that is what I think got them to the front, and they were taking some fairly, especially Sam Bird, some fairly big risks.
Yeah.
With some of the overtaking manoeuvres, but they came off.
13 minutes left on the clock. Cassidy quickest, a 1 minute 40.107 for the New Zealander. Evans comes out across the line and remains in 22nd position at the moment. No, sorry, he does remain in 22nd position. Oliver Rowland now, and you can see the rain on the visor, so it is getting a bit wetter out there. Yeah,
and that must be quite recent because he's got tear-off, very thin tear-off on the screen that he can pull off if that's getting distracting for him, and also it's a good way of referencing if there was actually any more rain coming, and so clearly there is, and as you say, a bit slippery out there.
Van Dorn through the Colosseo Quadrato on a full power lap here, Stoffel, but he is 3 tenths down on Cassidy in sector 1 alone. We'll get his middle sector split here. He's 4 tenths down now on Cassidy, and it's a lock-up and straight on at the chicane.
And that was the slippery surface yesterday, that new asphalt in the 8, 9, 10 area. And I think, as you say, Jack, it's getting wetter, and then that is really going to slow things down. So Cassidy's looking quite good here. He's only got 11 minutes to go in the session. Let's see what happens. I think it's just a lack of look at the front bouncing around. As they come up that hill, they crest. The front wheels, just go light, and that they just grab the brake and yeah, down the escape road. And that's part of, they do a track walk the day before, so Friday morning the drivers would do a track walk, and part of the thing is, part of their job is to look for the escape routes.
Yeah.
Okay, where's the escape, where is the runoff? What does it look like? Can I spin it round? What do I have to do? How much room do I have to play with if I make a mistake?
On board with Verline. Listen to this jump and bump. Oh! Slam after he was already slowing down though, as he comes into the left-hander at Piazza Gandhi at the top of the hill. Not on a full power lap. Nick de Vries, the other Mercedes, has turned it up to full power as Verline comes past the Colosseo Quadrato. Let's see how he fares at the Chiro chicane here. Robin Freitz gets out of the way. Oh!
Doesn't lack confidence, does he?
No.
Love it.
That's what actually Rowland said that yesterday about his chicane, because he was like a bit proud that he hit the wall. He was like, "Did you see I hit the wall?" Yeah, we saw you hit the wall. And he said he'd been watching everybody else be a little bit, we're giving it a lot of leeway, a lot of margin for error, and he thought, well, I'm going to be pretty aggressive there then. And in fact, and you'll know what this means. He said he turned in and the front end just gripped so much more than he was expecting. He was like, oh, okay.
Yeah. And then you've got to turn out in a hurry, otherwise you're going to clean off the inside corner on the wall.
Yeah.
There was a curb there yesterday, and there was an issue with the curb, so they took the curb away and they put a wall in its place. So yeah, when that happens, Jack, it's a horrible feeling because you just think, and it happens so quickly.
Yeah. Oh, so that was when Freitz got out of the way fairly dramatically of Verline, and then Verline fairly dramatically chucked it through the chicane.
Look how close he got.
Oh, he did have a huge slide.
Look at the ice through the visor too.
Yeah.
Again, look at the water coming off the front of the car. It's getting really slippery out there.
Meanwhile, Samuel Lindsay, the team principal of Porsche, watches on. Nick de Vries' lap hasn't been particularly strong. He came across the line 2.2 seconds slower than anyone else, so he's in 18th position still, Nick de Vries. So maybe a mistake out there for the Dutchman. He's just ahead of Norman Nato in the Venturi. There's Nico Muller. There you can see. It's not, you know, bucketing it down, obviously.
You're gonna have a try.
No, exactly. But it's certainly enough to make a difference.
Did you see how much lock that Norman Nato was having to use in the corner? Look, again there, it's just so... Yeah, look how wet the rear tyres are. Yeah, the track's gone now. And it's good information again. Maybe where you've improved from yesterday, but the drivers will be changing a lot of settings in the cockpit to get the car working for them for these now wet conditions. Look how much slower he is.
Yeah, Nato coming into turn 14. 8 minutes left on the clock.
And you hear it every time he touches the throttle. Spins the rear tyres up. And you can see as he crosses one surface, he's got grip, and then he gets to the next surface, and the car just slides, and then he gets to a white line, and the car will slide on that. That's part of the calculations that all the drivers are having to make every lap. Grip available on each one of these surfaces.
Through Piazza JFK, again, hearing that wheel spin. You could see the rain quite clearly actually on that last shot, as he now drops down the hill. So tentative. So this is Nato. Whoop.
And the road is crowned there as well. The midpoint is the high point, and it goes down on either side from there. So when you get to that point where he is right now, the road's dropping away towards the wall, and that sort of promotes that oversteer that you see the back end of the car sliding. Good grip on the surface right in the middle, that old sort of tired surface, right and bumpy surface, right in the middle of the apex of 15. That looks actually very grippy.
Oliver Turvey down at the bottom of the order. He's 5 seconds off the pace of Nick Cassidy, and 3 seconds away from his teammate Tom Blomqvist. But it's kind of that situation where he may have been out doing a sort of almost a race run to get in the mindset and the rhythm of it, and then we'll do a quali sort of sim towards the end, and then it starts raining, and you're done really. He's at 200 kilowatts of power at the moment for Turvey. That's the shot that you can really see that the rain is coming down, and here he comes now. See how tentative Turvey is through the first corner. Oh, a bit more committed than Nato, but still not super quick.
No, the lap times have slowed down.
Yeah,
in the region of 15-20 seconds. It shows you how slippery the track is.
Lostra's gone full power, so we'll see how this goes at Piazza Gandhi now.
Well, if it rains this afternoon, he's going to have to do it in qualifying. Might as well find out now. He's just moving the car around, trying to find the grip through the steering wheel, through the seat of his pants. Just what's going on. It's been very tentative. This man, obviously a lot of experience, multiple Le Mans winner, so he's used to having to improvise behind the wheel.
He's 5 seconds down after the middle sector, Andre Lotterer. That's how lacking in grip the circuit is. Now into the final couple of corners, the long left-hander. Where is it different on street circuits with regards to sort of finding grip offline? Because we don't, or is it just so narrow that there's not really an offline?
Yeah, with 90-degree corners as well, there's not really. It's unusual. And it depends on surfaces too that you would use that line. There's not so much rubber on the track either. You normally go offline to avoid the rubber that's been put down on the circuit. That's one of the things in the wet. The rubber that the circuit's coated in becomes like ice. So that's generally what you're trying to avoid. There's like a tyre change from Nick de Vries. So yeah, and a lot of it, Jack, depends on the shape of the corner as to whether you will use that sort of outside line that we...
Because I guess that the hairpin at Marconi at 15 is the kind of corner, if that was on a traditional circuit, you might think there'd be some elsewhere, but when it's on a full power lap.
Yeah, but also that piece of old bumpy tarmac right at the apex. It's got a lot of grip, so you just search.
Oh, Buemi! Whoa!
Oh, you're just searching out for grip the whole time, and Buemi's looking for some grip right now.
Big slide on the throttle coming out of turn 3 at Trefontaine. Now coming up the hill. Milisan again a little bit.
I think he'd be holding his breath through here.
Yeah.
Look at the wheel, he's moving the wheel the whole time. He's not comfortable through turn 6. Bit of sparks in the bump coming into 7.
Oh, again, any time he's on the throttle, it's so leery.
Yeah, just wait till here on this new surface till there's, again, no grip.
Oh, getting out of shape on the way in. This was the moment on the exit of 3.
Early turning, he turned in very early there. And he had quite a lot of lock on when he got to the throttle.
Bit of traffic in front, Oliver Turvey gets out of the way. Down into the chicane.
Spiking up the power again, the instant torque of the electric motor. You're trying to control it.
Again, 4.2 seconds off after the middle sector on Cassidy's time, so the track really slippery out there. The rain's getting a bit heavier, I'm being told.
Yeah, I think it's probably time to try that attack mode line. You go wide and then cut back in to try and get the car as straight as possible on the throttle, because the cars do not like turning and braking, especially in the wet. When you try and do any combined movement, that's when the tyres overpowered, just like that.
Buemi out across the line and goes 8.7 seconds slower than Nick Cassidy that time. That was a 1 minute 48.8. Here's Antonio Felix da Costa coming into Piazza JFK. He's on a full power lap as well, for what it's worth. Not quite as leery on the throttle as Buemi was out across the line, and that's a 1 minute 50.9 for da Costa. So, and this is interesting, if they're doing attack mode, full power runs at the same time, then it's quite interesting to compare, because that was 2 seconds slower for da Costa compared to Buemi, when the track is in a fairly similar position at the moment.
And most of the time, Jack, when you're doing this in practice, your first run at it, you're nowhere near where you need to be. There's some big mistakes being made. So this is all just information encased in an hour and whatever it is, an hour and 45 minutes. It does this again. Look at Mitch Evans searching for grip. And before he just puts lock in, and he just keeps putting lock in, and then power slide all the way out of turn 15, locking the wheels into 16. Lock the rear tyres up, power slide again. And it's just very difficult to control. And it looks spectacular to do that, but when you're going sideways and the rear tyres are spinning, the car's not going forwards. You're trying to get as much drive as possible from both ends, as much grip as you can from the car. Mitch Evans won 52.5, so that's 4 seconds off Buemi's time.
Oliver Rowland is 5th quickest at the moment. Jake Dennis 6th, so that's reasonable from Dennis in terms of getting his eye in. Here comes Oliver Rowland now up towards Piazza Gandhi. Lock up on the left front, gets it in, and we go on board with driver's eye. Oh, someone's had a go at the ABB branding on the exit of Piazza Gandhi.
I'd love the camera actually facing the other way, so you can see their eyes getting really big when they miss the braking point. Very neat and tidy look from Oliver Rowland. We saw how we talk about how aggressive he can be, but look how gentle he's been on the controls. Just listen.
Oof.
And that's control, and every input he makes into the brake pedal, the throttle pedal, the steering, everything. He's developed senses since he was a kid in karting, and he's using all those right now to feel where the grip, where the edge is, and trying not to step over it. And again, look, wheel spin all the way out of turn 15.
Rowland into Piazza JFK now. Through the left, through the right, and then out into turn 19. That will take him across the line. Checkered flag is out. Checkered flag is taken by Oliver Rowland then, and Nick Cassidy's definitely going to end this session quickest, the New Zealander. 500ths clear of Max Gunter and Stoffel van Dorn, but how much are the teams going to have been able to learn in a session like this compared to what they wanted to achieve, let's say?
Depends what the conditions are for this afternoon.
Well, yeah, that's true.
Yeah, definitely the early part of the session there was some good stuff to learn. There's no doubt. But yeah, the later part, if it doesn't rain, this is all for nothing. But you've got to have all this in the bank just in case, in the off chance it does rain. And there's, I say off chance, probably a 50% chance it could rain for certainly for qualifying.
So Cassidy ends it quickest.
We're going to practice the starts in a second here, up in the blind sort of turn 5-6 area where we had that incident yesterday. And that's, there were a few people getting a shock. Steeply uphill on that new asphalt, and they've been trying to put all that power down. Good luck with that. That's, yeah.
I think that's what the that yellow flag is for, that you can see out there, because there's Rene Rast.
And that's on the new stuff.
Yeah.
Sorry, the old tarmac.
The in theory grippy stuff.
Yeah.
That was fairly slippery from Rene Rast.
And not only are these guys testing putting the power down,
Mortara's feeling confident.
Yeah, but they're good lad. Actually, that's the pole position is on the new, the new tarmac. So that is, the rest of it's on the old stuff. But you're not only testing the acceleration, you're testing the braking into turn 7, the first corner they see.
Yeah, mate, we need to do something about the pressures, though. That was really impossible. I mean, I had a ton of traffic, but that was
really tough then for Sam Bird. So pressures, tyre pressures.
This is a kind of...
That looked all right from Alex Lynn.
Yeah, it really did, actually. That was good. But you make a good start today, and say you're on the 3rd or 4th row. Where do you go?
Yeah.
It's so narrow at this point. And it narrows down even further going into 7. So definitely a lot of risk reward going on, or will be going on this afternoon.
There's the repeater lights on the right-hand side, because you can't see the... Oh, and I think someone went straight on at 7 there, didn't they? I think someone was in the runoff area, and there's a yellow flag up there. We'll have a look. I think I just about spotted it on the...
There's definitely a yellow flag, yeah, double yellow.
Yeah.
That track's clear. Who was that now?
So someone has tried to find their braking point for the first corner of the race and found where not to brake.
Well, that's good. Definitely better finding it now than later this afternoon.
Yeah, absolutely. Here comes Pascal Wehrlein on the right-hand side. There you can see how wet the tyres are. Watch for the wheel spin on the Dragon. Almost a burnout, really, when he finally got on the power then.
Whoa. Very careful.
Oh, and that's is that a burnout or a bit of a fire, smoky car?
Just thinking the same thing.
Yeah, it's either been a very dramatic burnout for, I think it was one of the Venturis. On the right-hand side, as we look at it, here come the lights. We're doing a driver's eye with Sam Bird. Yeah, it must have just been a very extreme burnout by the looks of things, because that smoke has kind of dissipated fairly quickly. Well, here's a look at the results after free practice 3. And it is Nick Cassidy who ends it quickest, a 1 minute 40.107. 500ths clear of Max Günther, half a second clear of Stoffel Van Dorn. All these lap times set much earlier in the session. Nick Cassidy's lap and Max Günther's lap were both in full power qualifying mode, and that was sort of it, really. Van Dorn did do a run, but I think he made a mistake. Sete Camera 4th, Roland 5th, Muller and Freitz down in 11th and 12th, but this is really, really up in the air ahead of qualifying, you have to say. It's going to be very, very interesting to see what happens in qualifying in just an hour and 10 minutes time when the action gets underway. So we'll see what happens. Nick Cassidy would love it if he can be this quick in qualifying, but I think the conditions will have quite a lot to say about that. Nick de Vries back in the garage. How much do you have like a wet plan and a dry plan at this point? Like, so you wait until qualifying and then do things to the car at the start of qualifying, depending on whether it's wet or dry, from what you've just learned? Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, there'll be two different plans, 2 different setups, both mechanically and in the electronics of the engine, but then, or the motor, should I say. When at that point, when do you make a decision though?
Yeah.
What happens if it's half and half? Half wet, half dry. Where do you go with that? That's all the decisions the engineering team and the driver have to make. And you know, it's some point experience counts for, I think, a lot in those situations.
Nick Cassidy ended the session quickest.
So he's double glazed visor there to stop it fogging up.
Interesting. Sebastian Buemi climbing out of his car. Struggled in the rain yesterday. Well, not necessarily struggled in the rain, but felt he had more rain than others when he was out in Group 4.
I always used to say that.
Yeah.
Rain more for me.
A beautiful sunny day, and you were saying, oh, it was pouring down. And Sam Bird hauls himself out of the car. We heard him saying we need to sort out the pressures, because he was really struggling at the end of that session. Free practice 3 then concludes, and you can get involved with the fan boost. Vote online at fiaformulary.com/fanboost. Stoffel Van Dorn is at the top at the moment. He always wins it, as does Da Costa. Cassidy, that man there, very popular. Pascal Wehrlein in 16th place today. Blomqvist and Evans are the other drivers that are in the running to get the extra boost in the second half of the race later on. Antonio Felix Da Costa chasing down Stoffel Van Dorn up at the top of the fan boost voting, but we do see it change pretty regularly. I think we saw it change sort of during the free practice session yesterday. But this was a look back at the third and final free practice session ahead of the fourth round of the ABB FIA Formula E World Championships. Jean-Eric Vergne first out onto the streets of Rome very early in the morning, just 7 o'clock. And it was a bit drizzly throughout the session. It kind of dried up about 20 minutes or so in. As you can see here, Stoffel Van Dorn, it was dry enough for him to create a lot of tyre smoke when he locked up coming into turn 4. Vergne went straight on at turn 3. And Nick de Vries had to bail out of a moment at the chicane. Just managed to avoid the barriers. It was a strong run from Max Günther in the early stages. He ended up finishing second quickest. Alexander Sims was another driver finding lockups at many points on the track. And Alex Lynn tapped the barrier at the chicane. Didn't do too much damage and managed to get back out on track. And then the rain started coming down. The cars were dancing in the drizzly conditions. Norman Nato wrestling his car. Sebastian Buemi almost hitting the wall. And Nick Cassidy's time from earlier on in the session remained the quickest. So Tom Blomqvist then suggesting that maybe it's a bit slippery out there. And there will be a lot of debriefs going on in the next hour, because in just 1 hour and 6 minutes, qualifying for round 4 will be getting underway. Can Antonio Felix Da Costa get involved up in the fight at the front? Can Lucas Di Grassi repeat his strong qualifying performance from yesterday? What will the championship leader, Sam Bird, be able to achieve? See you in an hour.